Epstein and Diddy are in the news, and the scuttlebutt is that there's a whole group of actors and actresses that are being blackmailed. Hold on a sec. Let's have a talk about that. The professors in my day pulled a fast one. They would say things such as this: a Catholic priest tries to be a perfect person, but he doesn't even come close. He only bats about 300. That's what a professional baseball player bats. And so you see, he's a hypocrite, and therefore you have to throw everything he says out and come over here and become a communist, an atheistic communist. Just to say the words out loud, you realize what's wrong with all of this. It's absurd. But they did it, and they got away with it. A good example of that is rock and roll music. Some black guy went out in the boonies and sold his soul to the devil in the 50s or 60s, and rock and roll was formed, they said. By the time it got to the 70s, when our society completely changed, there were groups such as Led Zeppelin who were buying the Stairway to Heaven and would sing, "Don't worry, there's always time to change the road you're on." They got into the satanic, and they were as hedonistic as they could possibly get. It wasn't just them. That was the norm. That was rock and roll. Occasionally, one of those guys would get caught with drugs or something, and they would turn right around and start pleading that they were helpless victims of drugs and circumstance. Oftentimes, the courts would let them go. Now, there were those guys. They were leading the pack. Everything goes through the mind of a person, and they were the ones that were literally causing it all. Now, then there was a gap. And then there was the other group, the high school students who couldn't read or write or didn't have a trade because they went to public school. And they were modeling themselves after, in this case, the rock and roll guys, because they were doing just what they were told to do. And you know what happened to them? They ended up living on the sidewalk in San Francisco with faded tie-dye t-shirts and peppermint rainbow albums, wondering what in the world happened to them. They tried so hard to do the right thing. They were the ones that were being led, and they were being led by society, and the rock and roll groups were the ones leading them. And there are two different groups. There's a gap between the two of them. Going back to Epstein and Diddy, you sort of hear off to the side the names of the people who set those guys up, and they seem to be the same names that are heads of these international corporations that they say want to destroy society, and they want everything to be controlled by international corporations. They seem to be the ones behind it all. In other words, there's Diddy and Epstein and that group that's controlling them, and they're the rock and rollers. They're the ones that are setting the standard. And then there's a group, and then there's the other actors and actresses. Now, if you're one of those actors and you're a young stud that's in the movies and they're threatening you with blackmail, just laugh at them. You do that for our sake. If they're going to come out on Monday and tell you you're going to have to be a gay space alien communist drug addict, otherwise they're going to show you last Friday with a couple of pretty gals and a Tom Collins in your hand, you laugh in their face. You do that for us. And if you're an actress, you could do something so terribly important for society. Actresses get into character, and you could get into the character of the gal who changes the dirty diapers, gets the sex. Go on the computer and type in vocational stories of Catholic nuns, and there's the neatest group of gals, very pretty. You know darn well they have sexual desires as well. They also have this beautiful sense of romance and joy in them. And you have the opportunity and ability to unplug something from over there and plug it in over here and line things up. If you did that, I promise you, there might be some embarrassing footage running around, but not from the point of view of the guys. They would be loving all over you. There would be a line down the street and around the block promising to be first in line at the courthouse to plead guilty to the paternity suit. And if you're that gal and you came out and said, okay, boys, you go get your truck driver's license and get some money in the bank, and then you can come date me, I promise you, poverty would fly out the window. I hope you're listening.